What a pity about your automobile, viewers. And your sister. She came to our mansion for help. But now I'm afraid she desperately needs yours. Welcome to our humble abode. I regret you'll have to carry on your search alone. It seems we're down to a skeleton staff. Oh my. Is that your sister screaming? I hope you're not too late to save her. Horrors. It's becoming grotesquely obvious why all our guests feel so uninvited. So says the box to our next game, Uninvited, from ICOM and Chemco, released in 1991. Another in the Shadowgate series, I guess you could say. If you wanted to say that, I would let you. I'd call it the Shadowgate series. I think Shadowgate came out first. So this is like Shadowgate. This is a haunted house point-and-click game. It was originally developed for the Mac by ICOM and released in 1986, and then was ported over to DOS and the NES. And then after the NES, we had a Windows version. It was it was rumored that there was going to be a sequel released on the NES, but it never happened. And the employees at Infinite Ventures, who helped work on the game, indicated that no such game was ever planned. So gameplay, damn near identical to Shadowgate. So we're not even going to talk about that because we talked about Shadowgate. So our plot. Our unnamed hero has to find our way through an abandoned house in order to rescue our sibling, our sister. We have to We have to use magic to solve logic puzzles while discovering the sinister secrets of the house's former inhabitants. We wake up after a car crash next to an old mansion. Our sibling, who is a brother in the computer version, a younger brother, but an older sister in the NES version, are gone. And the car is soon lost as it bursts into flames. So the only thing we can do is enter the mansion and look for our sister. The house consists of 2 floors, most parts being early 20th century, and a tower. Some rooms have newer decorations, suggesting that a younger person lived in the particular place. No help is to be found, as there is not a single living soul inhabiting the house. It is not long, however, before the player is greeted by the first undead dweller. It gradually becomes evident that the house once belonged to a sorcerer with a number of apprentices. Draken, the most talented apprentice, became corrupt and killed the other inhabitants with his magic, resulting in the house becoming haunted. Aside from the house, there are 3 backyard buildings to explore: an observatory, a greenhouse, and a chapel, which leads to a cemetery maze. Several places are guarded by magical creatures, as well as some unconventional entities. Our quest is to rescue our sibling and gain access to other locked up parts of the estate along the way. As in other games of this time, as in other games of this genre by these lovely people, there is a time limit. In this case, an evil presence of the mansion gradually takes control. The player may eventually end up as a zombie. The element is partially absent in the NES version, as it is instead caused by a useless item that may be avoided. Since the story largely revolves around magic, many of the game's puzzles seem illogical. Hints for these and bits of the background story are unraveled in the various diaries and scrolls found within the grounds. Still, because of the gameplay being very non-linear, the ending can be somewhat abrupt. Now, the NES version has music and a written narration of the storyline, and that was altered. In the NES version, the player uses a phonograph in the game room. You'll hear a broken record version of the main theme of Shadowgate, another one of the NES games, obviously, by ICOM. There's a similar little, I guess you would call it a gag, that appears in Maniac Mansion. Now, the sibling trapped in the mansion changed from a younger brother to an older sister on the NES. The NES version, the player does not have a time limit until you pick up an item, and I'm not going to tell you what it is. Even then, though, the player can drop the ruby. Oh, damn it. I spoiled it. But I'm not going to tell you where it is. Yeah, I'm going to make you guess. You can drop it, and the time limit goes away. As with the other NES ports, the game texts were simplified to kind of condense them for space on the screen. In some cases, they add hints or elucidations. That's the word of the day. As an example, a hallway picture reads as follows in the NES version. It is a small painting of a young fellow. Yep. In the original game, the address was Master Crowley, 666 Blackwell Road, Loch Ness, Scotland. However, at the time the game was released, Nintendo had its stringent policy necessitating the removal of any offensive material. Rather than create a new address, it was simply shortened to Master Crowley. This is likely a reference to the occultist Aleister Crowley, but Nintendo, perhaps unknowingly, allowed the name to remain in the game. Other changes may relate to censorship issues. Pentagrams are turned into stars, and a cross into a chalice. Beyond the game text being simplified for the NES port, some of the death texts were edited or altered due to their rather graphic descriptions. A German magazine praised the Amiga version's user-friendliness, good graphics, and particularly the atmospheric sound, calling the game excellent and even better than Deja Vu. Computer Gaming World found the game to be enjoyable and innovative, praising the game's use of graphics and almost exclusive use of a mouse as a way of eliminating frustration. As such, the game was described as much easier to work with than pure text or text and graphic adventure games. Dragon complimented the game, calling it a truly horrifying adventure game and mystery that'll leave you shivering in the dark. And you know what? It's a pretty good game. If you liked Deja Vu, if you liked Shadowgate, give this one a try. There's no reason for you to have not. Between the three, this one might be my favorite. I like the plot build up in this one a little bit better myself, so try it.